Welcome back to the Hodge-Cast podcast. I recently did an interview with veteran journalist Julie Bindel, and some of the comments that I received on said interview was that I was homophobic, I was misogynistic, and I was transphobic, simply because we discussed the trans debates and neither me nor Julie are trans. However, today I'm joined by children safeguarding activist and transsexual, which will bookmark that because I'm allowed to say that. Samantha Plested, welcome to the show, Sam. How are you doing?
Hodge, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the invitation. I very much appreciate it.
No, it's absolutely fine. And you've travelled up from
London, central London,
all the way, and we're currently filming in Liverpool.
Indeed.
that was the train journey.
It was good. It was quick.
Okay,
I made it by the skin of my teeth, but I'm glad to be here and glad to meet you in person finally.
Oh, fantastic. Because we will come back to this. The reason I asked about that is you have had instances on public transport. So what you've done today is quite brave, really.
Thank
you. I just wanted to highlight that. Well, Sam, I know you're familiar with the show, and we ask all our guests this icebreaker question. Hopefully you've done your homework, you know, to answer it. I'm not going to put you on the spot. But
Yes,
what
sir.
does challenge mean to Samantha Plested?
Challenge to me is doing something that you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're doing something that isn't natural to you, and you're going to dedicate yourself to it. You know it's not going to be easy, but you push ahead regardless. And throughout that journey or that challenge you're going through, you're going to grow from it. I'd like to hope that you'd grow from it. And at the same time, you're going to educate yourself, and that education you can impart to others. And at the same time, inspire others along the way, hopefully. That's what challenge means to me.
No, and you've summed that up perfectly, and I think that ties into your own journey quite well, because obviously you're on a bit of a mission now, aren't you, with what you stand for?
I am.
So I will give a nod to two really good podcasts that you've done. One was The Dozen with Liam Tufts, and another one you've done most recently with Ella McChrystal. What's the name of her show again? I do apologise, Ella.
Ella, it's got out of my head. The Mind. It's got out of my head. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, both
You put me on the
links.
spot, Hodge. Put me on the spot.
Both links to those will be in the description anyway.
Yes.
And apologies, Ella, if
Sorry,
you're
Ella.
watching. So I because you've done those podcasts, and I don't want to take away and dilute that, you did speak about your upbringing quite a lot on those podcasts.
Yes.
But for any of our audience who don't know who you are or new listeners, kind of give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour of kind of where you grew up, obviously coming out as gay, and then eventually we'll kind of pause at the transition journey.
Well, I came out. Well, when I grew up in New Addington, just outside Croydon, and I was from the age of I was a home birth, so from the age of dot to the age of 18. I then left home when I was 18. I came out to my family when I was 21, 22. That's basically it. That's it. And then all my life, I felt different. I can never say that I felt like a girl or a woman, which I've said in previous casts. I felt different. And I just I didn't really suffer with my gender dysphoria. It wasn't that painful for me, but it was always in the background. And then I just lived a gay life up until I was about 39, various partners along the way. And then I started to transition when I was about 45, 46. And I had my final gender confirming surgery when I was 50.
Okay. Well, cheers for giving us, and obviously you go into more detail on the two podcasts that we've listed.
Yes.
So I kind of just I'm going to flip flop a little bit here, because obviously I introduced you at the start as a children's safeguarding activist, which we're going to speak about that at length. But I also addressed you as a transsexual, which some people would argue is an offensive slur. But you would be preferred to be referred to as that. So can you just give a little bit of a definition, or your definition, or the definition, and why you're not offended by that? And the stage is yours to answer that.
Transsexual to me is, and I say this all the time, transsexual is somebody who's done the work. transgender, from my understanding of it, and I'm going to reference Tumblr here, because I've been doing a bit of my own homework recently. And I was never big into Tumblr, but I came across references to myself being referred to as true scum, TRUSCUM, true scum. And those that don't have gender dysphoria, they refer to themselves as too cute, TUCUTE. Now, if that's not offensive to me, calling me true scum because I've had surgery, then I don't know of anything more divisive.
So just to unpack that. So I thought true scum, when you first started outlining that, was meant to be offensive, but apparently it's meant to be a label as well, is it? Or
I think it's a mixture of the both, but who wants to be called true scum?
Well, no, of course, nobody.
Right?
Well.
Nobody wants to be called that. And how can you refer to yourself as too cute? Yeah, I find it offensive, and I've earned my... I said it again, I'm not proud of my transsexuality, Hodge. I'm proud of who I am as a person. I don't lead with it. You know, all these people leading with their sexuality. You don't need to do all that. Just be who you are. You don't need to keep broadcasting it and shouting about it. That's also why I'm here. But the main point the reason I'm here is that I'm a self-appointed children's safeguarding activist, because it seems to me nobody else is willing to step up to the plate. I can't see it, and that's really why I'm here.
Yeah, and we're going to go into detail with regards to that. And quite right, I've not come across anything. I stumbled across you through Liam Tuff's interview, and then obviously we got acquainted, and we've been speaking on social media for a while. And even during that time, I've tried to look at any other trans activists, let's say, who are fighting for the cause you are, and there's not a lot of them out there. There's certainly none that are quite as vocal as yourself, and I do want to get into that in depth, but I just kind of want to lay the foundations, as it were, for the listeners to see why you are so passionate. So you've explained there that why you don't deem transsexual as offensive, but kind of just talk us through a little bit of your journey, because I want to educate myself on this, and I anticipate a lot of our listeners will want to do the same as well. So I always get this wrong, don't I? So gender dysphoria.
That's it.
Okay, so gender dysphoria. Some would argue it's a mental illness. Some would argue it's normal, and that's why we have the trans community. As someone who's suffered with it and suffers with it, what's your take on it?
Transsexuality has always existed through the annals of time, but trans hasn't. Now, trans, from my understanding, is that when you look at the too cute reference, the too cute reference refers to those that don't have gender dysphoria but just want to be trans. Now, for me personally, I would never want to be trans or transsexual. I wouldn't wish to be. It's not something that I'm not proud of it, but it's who I am. It's part of who I am. But I don't understand why you would want to belong to part of a group when doing something like this will change your life so drastically. And it may not be what you think it's going to be or what you led to believe it's going to be. Because you can't become a woman. It's an impossibility. You can believe it as much as you want, and you can believe the lie, which is being peddled to children. And that's where I have an issue.
I think, obviously, speaking to you both on and off camera, you're very much cut from the same cloth with me. We work towards logic and common sense. And I'm also in the camp of live and let live. You know, I say this all the time in terms of religious belief, sexuality, etc. I don't discriminate. I don't have any issue if someone has a different belief, culture, system than what I've got. It then becomes a problem when it gets preached as propaganda, and obviously you referenced there with the children, and I just think the irony of it all is, because I've got quite a lot of gay friends, and every one of my gay friends are very anti-pride in a sense of what it has become.
Yes.
and this is obviously coming from people who tick those boxes on the LGBT community, although it's the
LGBTQIA plus S
Yeah.
and all the other chevrons.
And I did remember from my chat with Julie that two-spirit is supposed to come first, so you would be possibly offending a lot of people by not getting that right there, Sam. So I just wanted to get that out there in case there are any two-spirits watching. But yeah, I think it's a case of it's the irony of it all is Pride was a political protest that was set up about oppression. And I was all for that and what it initially stands for, because, there were people, these friends who have referenced, who got their heads kicked in a nightclub for simply being homosexual. That's disgusting. That shouldn't happen. And having that political protest to combat that, brilliant. I love that. It's inspiring. But where it's got to the point now, it just seems as though it's become a platform for people to be quite dogmatic, which is the complete opposite of what it stood for, in a sense that if you don't adhere to these values, these belief systems, then you're like I said at the start, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. I'm like, there's not a two-way system here, is there?
No.
It is very much dogmatic. So where do you stand on Pride as a whole? From its origins, from its inception to modern day?
It's done a 180, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To me now, I look at it and I just think it's, okay, well, you mentioned Pride. Let's talk about Stephen Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously a self-appointed children's safeguarding activist. I have a major problem with that because people need to understand it was on the rise. Now, I'm your worst enemy. I'm a transsexual woman and I've been prolifically sexually abused as a child. And if you want to reference that, you can go back to Liam's and Ella's, because I'm not going to dwell on that too much today because I've already spoken about it in depth. But yeah, it's full of it's full of kinks and pervs, straight people now saying they're queer, all these different things that are changing, and it's I think where there's going to be children, you're going to find them. And I think we need to do more checks and balances. Anyone who's involved with children should be double, triple, quadruple checked. Now, Stephen Ireland, if you can do your homework, I think recently he got 24 or 28 years in prison for a 12-year-old child.
Are we able to pull Stephen Ireland up? Just a quick newspaper tabloid, just for the listeners. But go on.
Yeah,
sorry.
I think it's important people see who he is, as much as we don't really want to see him and his ugly boat race. But yeah, 24 or 28 years in prison. There you go. Oh my God, what a vile picture of that monstrous man. But that's what you're up against. And when I look at, and I'm going to do a slight segue into like judges and rulings, when you've got predators looking with like grade A pictures of like children and infants being abused and everything else in between, why are they getting light sentences? What is going on? And everywhere I look, it seems to be on the increase, and these people aren't being imprisoned. And I've got major concerns. It's like in a minute, they're going to be lowering the age of consent. And I tell everybody about this. And I'm sorry if I'm going off a little bit.
No, it's okay.
But it's all linked. I mean, what's the age of consent now? 16? Mm-hmm. In a minute, you're going to get 14. Mark my words and listen to me, people. Because it'll be 14, and then it'll be 12, and then it'll be 9.
That's the direction it's going in.
Right.
And the way you describe that, and obviously reference Stephen Ireland there, it's very much as though Pride has become... So in the same way, let's use someone like a Jimmy Savile. He infiltrated his antics through media and political game, political power. And I think a lot of people now are using the Pride and LGBT community to, we're doing nothing wrong. You know, right. it's all above board. And quite right with the concept of the age of consent changing, because I firmly believe that. And I think how they will play that card, personally, and hopefully I'm wrong, is based on the cultural differences here in the UK now.
Yes.
In terms of we are becoming sort of a minority in that sense. Yep. And obviously when you become a minority, people's cultures and backgrounds take precedence. So in certain countries where the age of consent is typically lower, that will then be imitated over here in the UK.
Exactly.
Or that's how you would perceive it to be. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of talking, but it's on brand with what you're saying.
Yes.
So I completely subscribe to that, Sam. So I kind of just want to go back to gender dysmorphia.
Dysphoria.
I knew I'd do it. I knew I'd do it. But, it's an education piece. So, yeah. And it's got out my head again now. So it's gender dysphoria. So gender dysphoria. So obviously you came out. Did you kind of all... Because it's obviously something you suffered with all your life. But maybe you thought coming out was a way to combat that? Or... Am I wrong on assuming that?
Well, for me, my transsexuality was always in the background because I would always, throughout my relationships over the years, and obviously my partners never knew about this, I would always make love in my head as a woman. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of my partners even said to me after I came out, when did I come out? What year was it? I came out as transsexual, 2015, on Father's Day. And... it was a moment. It was a magical moment. My father was very accepting. My family, it was a rough ride. So I came out in 2015. 2017 started living full time. And then, actually I want to touch on that. Because I want to go back to the bathroom thing for a second. Because I'm going to be honest, the bathroom thing was probably one of the most difficult parts of my transition, because you're living as a woman, you're going to work as a woman, and I'm going to talk about tucking for a little bit, because when you've been tucking your penis for 2 years and it's something you don't want to be doing, and then you go to the bathroom and you have to untuck and you're going through that, and you're going to the ladies' bathroom, you're sitting there, and you can see someone's in the stall when you go in next to the toilet you're going to go in, and you sit down, for me personally, and then you wait for that lady to finish, wash up and leave the toilet, and then you start to go to toilet. But it's a very difficult time. For me, sometimes it would be almost tear-inducing, because here I am in the toilet presenting as a woman, but I have a penis at that moment. So it's very confusing for me as an individual. And I think, and it was very nice of actually one of my followers, I can't remember her gracious name, she said to me, sometimes, Samantha, when I listen to transsexual women of my caliber, she said, us women need to learn to put our claws away a little bit. And that to me was a moment of someone giving me a bit of grace, because I think we have to, us genuines, the transsexual women with no agenda, we want to get that grace back, because I'm here to defend us, because we're not, I hope I'm not going off on a tangent, we are transsexual women, we haven't got no agenda, we're not promoting an ideology, we just want to live our lives quietly, which is what we've always done, until all the willy wavers came along saying we're women, which has upset the apple cart, which is also part of the reason why I'm here. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, I think what you've done though is you've outlined kind of like a definition for yourself, which hopefully the listeners, because as someone who's never suffered with it, it's obviously an education piece, as I say, for me. But I think we've got some people probably like myself once upon a time struggle to comprehend how someone can have that thought process, but it obviously exists in society. And like you said, I think when you've got these to quote willy wavers, it's a bit of an insult for people. So It was getting to the point, particularly in the West, where I could wake up one day and decide I'm female, and if you don't like that, I'm going to deem it offensive if you stop me from sharing the toilet with young girls. And that's where it was kind of like, well, actually, as well as that being quite sick and perverse in a sense, why would you want to share a toilet with young girls as a fully grown man? But it's also insulting to people like yourself, Sam,
Yep.
who have gone through that.
All day long.
And like I use that phrase, live and let live. It's a case of that's something that you wanted to do because you felt you needed to do that for
Yes.
yourself, to live your life,
Yep.
be who you can be. But you're not offloading that onto anybody else.
Nope.
And you know what I like is the fact that, and this is one of the main reasons I wanted to invite you on, as well as I love what you stand for, is it's nice to actually be able to have an amicable conversation about these topics. Because if I'd got somebody else on, you can guarantee they'd have probably walked off by now, just because maybe a few of the questions are put to them. So that's really admirable as well. It honestly is. You touched with regard, I think you was going to tell us about the mirror moment, and then you kind of told us about being the toilet. So I feel as there's more to add there. So do you want to...
The mirror moment.
You referenced, you referenced it just, and I think you spoke to me off camera as well with regards to, was you in a mirror before you transitioned, that kind of...
No, I think we were talking about Bruce Jenner, weren't we?
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay.
Sorry, Caitlyn. Sorry, Caitlyn. No, with that reference, Caitlyn Jenner, when she was when she had won the medal.
She'd won the gold
She'd
medal.
won the gold medal. It was on the side, and she stood there as Bruce, looking in that mirror, thinking, "What have I done?" But that's Caitlyn's story. But for me, I always felt, especially being born in 71. So I'm a 70s baby, never knew about transsexuality, trans, all this, because children only know what they're exposed to. Now, all of this has been pushed down from the elites. Let's make no bones about it, because all of this, what's going on now with the trans movement, it's been sent to emasculate, destroy the West, make all the children confused. And I do believe it is the end result is to mainline, get all the children all aligned with trans and from the ages. I think in Wales, they've just brought out the curriculum, and I think it's 3 to 11-year-olds.
Wow.
So people, you need to prick up your ears, open your listening ears, and start watching, because I'm surprised there aren't, from Land's End to John O'Groats, that there aren't parents, mothers and fathers, standing outside schools saying, "Not in our schools to our children." Now, this is a message to the dads as well. Don't leave this up to your wives. You're a parent too. Phone that school. Say you're not interested. Listen, we can have acceptance all day long. I'm all for it. Not a problem. But I'm not here for promotion. When I see the church promoting it, look at the church's history. Why are you standing there with a rainbow flag round your neck? A rainbow lanyard? I've got problems with it all.
Well, it's virtue signal of the highest order.
Of course it is.
I think just going on to why more people probably are, and this is why it takes someone like yourself, Sam, who has gone through that and is happy to speak on, provide a voice for the voiceless is probably the phrase I'm looking for, because a lot of people, they probably do want to say something, but they're worried that they'll get the labels I got at the start. They'll get labelled homophobic, transphobic.
Not true.
That is that I think the consensus amongst the masses would be, well, we don't want to upset anyone. That's not our intent. The good, genuine people.
But that's the easiest thing to do, isn't it? I mean, if you're not intelligent enough to have an argument, the quickest thing to do is call you transphobic or homophobic, just to shut you down, because most of these people haven't got an argument in them. And I look across my socials, and nobody comes for me.
Well, I was going to ask you that, and I was going to kind of save it for the end, and I probably will ask you at the end as well when we've unpacked a bit more. But you've not had anyone yet, because obviously Liam's quite a big platform, and I know you've done other podcasts as well, remote ones. So your name's out there. Obviously your X account has grown significantly as a result, and obviously your Facebook gets quite a lot of engagement on your post there, and I know people are always reaching out to you.
Yes.
Now my only, and I said this to you off camera before we'd even agreed to this interview, my only concern for you, and this is more of a courtesy and a welfare, is as your brand grows, chances are people will. I get haters, and I'm nobody, just because the podcast does quite well. So as you generally find, as popularity grows, so will the floodgates will open
Doesn't
for
bother me.
people.
Doesn't
And
bother me, Hodge.
are you willing to take that
Doesn't
mission
bother me
on?
in the slightest.
Because I'm asking you that because I think that demonstrates where you're at with it now. You are passionate about this, and this is your end goal now, aren't you? You're a woman on a mission. I am
indeed. I have God with me, and I am a Christian, and this is my calling. This is what I have to do. Listen, adults can do what you want, but even saying that, there are, I actually can say from one of my followers, there are also young adults out there that are on a spectrum, that are vulnerable to this. And where does somebody go if they've got, say, a 28-year-old child that may be on the spectrum and they didn't really know about it? Where does that parent go? Because they can't go anywhere because services are only open to children. So once you reach 18 plus and you've got a child with special needs, sensory, ADHD, autism, and all of that stuff, where do you go? Where do you go? You're probably going to end up losing your child. So it's not just children, it's young adults and they're vulnerable. So you haven't got to be under 18 to go through all of this. You can be a parent of 60 and end up losing your child at 28 or 30 to this ideology. It's problematic.
And I don't think doesn't just stem from the trans ideology. I think for me, when children are still growing and developing, I mean, one of my friends, I'm not going to name him, he told me the other day that his son came home from school and I think he was something like 7, saying, "Oh, I'm now queer." And I just think at that age, how are you when your frontal cortex is still developing, you've not even fully grown, how do you know what your sexuality is? How do you know whether you suffer with gender dysmorphia? Dysphoria. We're going to keep that in though, because I think it shows how uneducated I am on the subject. But I've gone on a bit, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, at that age, children, they shouldn't be in a situation where they're having these thought processes later on in life. Of course, when they start getting these feelings the same sex.
When you go through puberty, which it's paramount. It's a rite of passage for children. No one should be stopping it.
No, I completely agree. And if you'd have had these conversations even like 10 years ago, it would just be insane to think that's even a possibility. And now it's so rife amongst curriculums and the education systems. What was it? Because there's obviously got to have been a point in your life where this triggered you to the point, I need to find my voice. I need to be a voice for the voiceless now. Do you remember what that was? And if so, can you share it with us?
Yeah, I do recall. It was, and also this goes into the fear that you mentioned earlier about people speaking up. It was 2 years ago. And I went on to my local primary school's website and for a reason, it doesn't matter why I went on to the website, but and I went on and I had a look and it was Pride, it just happened to be Pride Month. And all across their websites was the banners, Pride banners. And I just saw red.
Was that your first introduction of their teaching this in school?
Yeah.
Was you privy to that, or sure you wasn't?
I was never privy to it. It was just. I'm going to say serendipity, actually, because it is a bit of luck. It's luck for the children that I saw it, because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now talking to you. Mm-hmm. So I went on the website, and I got very angry because I was a child. I had a childhood unblighted by this ideology. And again, it goes back to children who only know what they're exposed to. And if you're ramming this down their throats all day long, I'm not surprised a little kid would come home and say I'm queer. How does a 7-year-old know what queer is?
Well, they don't, do they? I mean, this 7-year-old...
Most adults don't even know what queer is.
No, exactly. And this 7-year-old is probably still playing make-believe dragons and playing with the toys.
Or was.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be trans for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Right, childhood's gone. Let's all go to a Pride March. If you've got a trans child, and then you'll have tranny nannies, tranny aunties, friend aunt. It just goes on and on and on. And do you know what I find incredible, Hodge? Right, that people are so stupid, right? But they'll go along with the fact that a woman can have a penis, right? But yet they wouldn't listen to someone like me saying this is an ideology to confuse you all, but they'll swallow that. Now, to me, it's completely cranky that nobody will listen to me and what I'm saying, but they'll just swallow this all and just destroy all their children. This is why we need to have pushback.
I mean, I don't have kids, so it's probably a bit of a cop-out thing for me to say, but I don't understand how it's got to this point where people haven't pushed back already, because I know if it was if I had children and the second any of them came home, not even saying, it wouldn't even get to the point where they're saying, I think I'm queer, right? It would be any signs, because you interact with your kids. If you're a good parent, you're interacting with your children. I just think if it was me, if they were my kids and any of this, I'd be like, any of this rhetoric was getting, pushed in schools and this is normal behaviour, I'd be straight to the school saying, what is going on here? And then if I didn't like the response or it happened again, they'd be getting taken out the school, and I put them in another school. And if that other school did it, they'd be homeschooled. I wouldn't have got. So that's the bit that always confuses me, is it's mass propaganda, this. So how we got to that point, because a lot of parents, they're not all stupid. Surely they're aware of this. Or do you think that ties into the fear-mongering aspect again?
Well, it just goes back, doesn't it? When you think about when all this ideology came out, when was it, 20 years ago? I mean, I don't understand why the parents aren't doing it, why they've all just swallowed it. And this goes back to, like, when I first discovered about self-ID. Because I'm not going to lie, I during my transition initially, I mean, I had my head in, I was so focused on my own transition that you forget about everything else. And then when I realised all the self-ID had happened, I went, what the fuck? When did that happen? I didn't even realise. And then you got all like the willy wavers with their tutus on and their stripper tops with their willies and fake breasts screaming they're women. It just all got kind of, I don't know. It just seemed like, I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent here. It just felt like...
You were obviously, like you said, you were on your own path at that point, and you was dialed in and focused on that.
Yeah.
You was oblivious to the other stuff that was maybe going on.
Yeah, but the self-ID, I think that's when everything became... that's when it made our lives, the genuines, more difficult. Self-ID, all the kinks came out of the bedroom, Pandora's box was opened. All of that needs to go back. And we need to go back to where we were before. So, yeah.
Do you think there has been a little bit of movement in a sense that obviously the Supreme Court came out recently this year, didn't they? And basically all they did was reiterate a law. And we spoke about this at length with me and Julie on the previous podcast, where they basically just reiterated the law that biologically there are two genders. And I think a lot of the reason why they did that is because a lot of lawsuits were getting put and debated in court and settled in court or outside of court based on, case in point, like biological males competing with females in sports, biological males using same-sex or female bathrooms. And there was all these cases. And then eventually the Supreme Court, because the government weren't doing anything, they never do. So the Supreme Court have essentially just said, well, there is a law, so we'll reiterate that. And now it's down to the organisations, so the companies that people work for, if they want to continue with this propaganda, this virtue signaling, which a lot of companies still are. And I thought maybe with the Supreme Court announcing that, it might eliminate it somewhat. What's your take? Do you think, I mean, obviously, it's a step in the right direction with what the Supreme Court have done, but is it enough of a step in the right direction?
I mean, I feel for women. I feel for women. I feel for the genuine transsexual women that this has caused an issue for. But for all those women out there, transsexual women that pass, it's not an issue for them. Why should it be an issue for them? It's only the ones that don't necessarily pass it's going to be more difficult for. Where do I stand on it? Well, it's very difficult because I'm a transsexual woman, so it's going to impact me more, isn't it? The ones that are part-time, your cross-dressers and your kinks, it doesn't matter to them because Monday to Friday they're Bob, aren't they? And then at the weekend they're Georgina, or of an evening. So they don't give two shits about me.
So what? And if this is a personal question, you can politely tell us to F off.
Anything's on the table.
But if you go into a restaurant like we are doing after this interview, okay, and you need to use the toilets, do you go in a male's or do you go in a female's?
I go in the women's.
You go in the women's.
I'm not going to be standing in a dress made up to the nines.
No, I just wanted to, because obviously
toilet.
What you referenced there with the kinks and everything, that's obviously was made that quite difficult now with the Supreme Court, because you might potentially get chastised for doing that.
Of course.
And that's obviously where the lines are very much blurred, aren't they, in that sense?
Well, what I'll have to do, I have to do my due diligence before I leave the house, and just make sure that I try and go to any venues where there's a mixed toilet. Mm-hmm. Or just one stall.
But you should. Yeah, it's. I know it's not. It's easy to do with Google these days, but you shouldn't have to do that in that sense, should you?
Yeah, I am being slightly flippant when I say that, but I mean,
no, I just mean from a personal perspective. I mean, you because of all this confusion, you now have to do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't had any problems so far, but I mean, if I do, I'll have to cross that bridge when I come to it. But women, anyone who follows me knows that I care about and love women. God's sake, I want to be one. Why would I want to hurt or cause offence or encroach? I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I've done, when I first transitioned, of course I went to the shops. Of course I went. I mean, my first experience of buying a bra at Marks and Spencer's was awful. I had to stand outside the changing room. She went, let me just go and see if I can get someone to see if that's okay. So I stood there, she stood there. We're both standing there awkward. She's like looking around, and she went to me. After about 3 minutes of uncomfortability, she went, if she doesn't come back in a minute, just go in. So
I mean, I'm laughing because it's quite, obviously I can imagine with your personality, that would have been quite an amusing moment, but still, it's also quite an uncomfortable one.
Well, it was uncomfortable, but I think my personality, at that time, I was very kind of like, I can't think of the word, very in myself. The word's eluding me right now. And that was difficult. But my personality has come back to what it was pre-transition. Because I'm still the same person. But my personality was dulled for a while because I was so in my own head about my transition. Whenever you go out, and when I first started my transition, I had cropped hair. We're talking like number 2. I'm the shaver, Hodge. So, yeah, that was difficult. But it got easier. But back to the changing room thing. I mean, I'm considerate to the point where I will shop online. I can go out, I can go to a shop, see what I like with friends, and I will go home and order it, normally in 2 sizes. And I'll return it. Because when you're out and you're all made up, and ladies, you all know this, you've got your makeup on. And if you try any dresses on or blouses, you're going to get makeup on the clothes. And you don't want to, ruin your glam. So you don't do that. So I think I haven't shopped in a shop, I've been in a women's changing room for what? It's got to be 3 years, 4 years. Doesn't interest me because I haven't got a kink. I'm not a perv.
Yeah,
I'm a transsexual woman, Hodge.
No, exactly. When you were talking, then I'm casting my mind back because I literally get everything online now, and if the size doesn't fit, most companies will do a return policy, won't you, and get a different one.
Exactly.
I kind of want to just go back to you've referenced a few times your transition journey, because obviously I know you're here to kind of talk and preach about common sense and saving the children, but also it must have been quite a tough time for you during that time period. Mm-hmm. So I know you've spoke to me, and obviously if you're comfortable speaking on camera as well with the YouTube, because I think that was quite interesting, quite powerful to where you was at headspace wise. So do you want to just add? I'm kind of stealing your thunder a bit there. No. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Or?
Yeah, of course. No, I initially at the beginning of my journey, I started doing weekly uploads. Was it weekly or monthly? Maybe it's monthly. Uploads to my YouTube channel, which has morphed over the years. I've had many names for my channel. I've changed it a lot. But I uploaded all my videos about my journey, and I was very raw to the point where because I wear headbands. I'm now going to lift the veil a little bit here. It's all smoke and mirrors, my darling. I wear headbands because I've got male pattern baldness. That's my Achilles heel. And I would talk about my journey, my male pattern baldness, and I would say things like, well, if it was good enough for Elizabeth I, it's good enough for me. My sense of humour, Hodge. So I documented all of that, and then just prior to my surgery on the 5th of November 2021, sorry, be 4 years this November. And I documented it all. But the week before my surgery, I deleted everything. I didn't file it, didn't archive it. I deleted it all. Because I'd reached that point where I thought, I don't want to talk about my surgery because that's private. That's going to be mine, just for me. And then I just deleted all my channel and got on with my journey.
Do you think the initial thing was because you'd reached that penultimate stage of, I'm transitioning, this is me? That was the thought process of why you wanted to do that in the first place. And then obviously a bit of acceptance came along and you realise, actually, that's private. I don't want people. I'm just trying to gauge the thought process.
I think for me it was I think it was a way for me to grow. Because I thought, and also have less fear, because I think if I'm doing a YouTube channel and I'm talking about it, it's going to take away my fear, which I do believe it did. It helped me. I suppose in some way it was kind of therapeutic to talk about it and be a little bit fearless. But then again, the week before my surgery, I just deleted it all because I wanted to just disappear into the ether. She's up, she's gone. And the irony is, here I am today talking about it all.
So you've come full circle, really,
right? Yeah. But there's a good reason. Obviously, we know why I'm here talking about it. I'm putting my anonymity on the line because I give a shit. And everybody else needs to give a shit. So step up to the plate and follow my lead. That's all I'm asking of you.
I kind of just powerfully put, I kind of want to just, obviously with the transition journey, and obviously we referenced about you travelling up here on train. Yes. Do you want to tell us about some, because I'm trying to get the perspective of what it is a transsexual goes through and how brave it is that you're doing this message. So I kind of want you to outline maybe some of the issues that you've had being a transsexual.
Yeah. I've had a lot of incidents on public transport. Verbal abuse, close to physical. Yeah, and there was one particular incident where I was going for my laser hair removal on a Sunday morning, and I'll pick this one out in particular. And I got on the bus, and these 4 gentlemen got on, and the bus was empty. It was Sunday morning. And I had my Emla cream on, which is numbing cream for my 5 o'clock shadow. And I had my Emla cream on, my cling film on my face, and a face mask covering my face. And these 4 gentlemen got on. Now, these 4 gentlemen were from another country. That's all I'll say. And I'm sitting there on my phone, and I can hear them speaking in a foreign tongue. And I'm looking for my peripheral vision, and I'm watching. And as they've got on the bus, I've actually turned my music off. It's a safety thing, right? Turn my music off. I'm listening. I can hear them talking in their mother tongue. And then all of a sudden, one of the gentlemen came over and slid right in front of me. And I've got my phone in my hand, and I'm looking at eye level. And he's looking at me from behind my phone, and his eyes are just above my phone, and he's looking at me. He's trying to intimidate me. And I can see them from my peripheral, the other 3 over here. He's looking at me, and I'm not paying him any credence. I'm not looking at him. I'm not engaging with him. I'm pretending I'm looking at my phone, but I'm still looking at him, and over there to my right. And then all of a sudden, he moved back, talking in the mother tongue. All of a sudden, then another guy from behind scoots right over and sits right next to me. Now, at that moment, my heart was in my throat, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, how can I get off this bus? Am I going to get off this bus alive? But God was looking out for me that day, and the stop before I got off on Park Lane was they got off the stop before me, and of course I was relieved hugely, and I got to my laser hair appointment, and I walked in the door, and the minute I walked in the door, my legs buckled, and I was a heap on the floor crying my eyes out. That was the last time I went to laser hair removal, and as a result of that, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be very frank and honest, like I always am. I still have to shave a little bit, which is quite triggering. But I am going back to continue my laser hair removal this month. So, and I'll get that finished. So, yeah, there you go. That's one example.
No, and cheers for sharing that. And I think it just demonstrates that, I suppose, obviously we're aware that there's a lot of nasty people out there.
Yeah.
But particularly where you was a potential target for these people, and like you said, it all boils down to a level of intimidation, and thankfully, you've come back from that, and also today you've been on public transport. I know you've been on it since prior to today as well, and obviously you're going back to your laser hair removal, so it's good that you're able to come back from that.
Well, I had a Valium, Hodge.
Okay,
I have to have a Valium to travel. I can't not medicate when I travel.
Oh, so even so you
yes,
still
I have to
still
medicate. I still medicate to travel because I have severe social anxiety disorder, believe it or not.
Okay.
So for me to be here today, it's I'm proud of myself to be here today, to have come this far. So yeah, thank you.
No, it's quite right, and I kind of want to, because obviously with your message being so potent, so powerful, I think it's good to show the levels of, even though you've had to touch on kind of personal endeavour there. Something that people can understand, that you are kind of putting your neck on the line to do what you do and to speak out openly. So what's kind of like, obviously we've touched on, we know what's going on, it's being taught in schools, but what do you think, I know obviously people speaking up and that's going to obviously entertain potential masses where people can, hopefully, the strength in numbers is where I'm alluding to.
Yes.
But what do you, let's say they get the strength in numbers, what do you think needs to change massively? Because obviously I know it's easy to sit there and say it needs to be aborted from schools, but it's not going to happen overnight, is it?
Well, okay. Well, I spoke to my MP, Miata Fernboulay. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Miata. I spoke to her, I think 2 weeks ago. She's the MP for Peckham, my ward. And I spoke about this topic, obviously, number one. And she said that it was just something they've inherited from the Conservative Party. It's just that passing the monkey shit is again, isn't it? Blaming somebody else. Yeah, so they've inherited it. I mean, listen, people forget they are the masses, and there's power in that. I mean, I'm going to be starting a petition within the coming weeks, because this is something that needs to be debated in Parliament. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to the dads need to pick up the phone, take your kids out of that lesson if you have to. Because in a minute, like, it goes back to the 7-year-old that you mentioned saying they were queer. One of my followers sent me a message 4 or 5 weeks ago stating that they were really concerned because one of their friends told them that their child came home from school and said, "Oh, I can kiss boys and girls now, mummy." So you please tell me they're not confusing kids. This is what it's all about, and no one can see it. There needs to be a major kickback from the masses. You lot need to grow a pair of kahunas and step up. All of you. I can't do this alone.
No. But what you can be is a figurehead to keep putting that message out there.
Yep.
So hopefully more. Because if anyone watches, so let's say, I think he was over 200,000 people watched your Liam Tuff's interview.
Yes.
So if any of those 200,000 have spoke up about it, that's an achievement. If people watching this speak about it, then, and it's a case of, oh, I'm speaking up because you've inspired them to do that.
That's the hope,
that's the whole.
That's the hope. That's the hope.
And I think that's, we live in an age now where everything's digitalized, everything's on your phone, everything's getting those dopamine hits. That's why I said to you, I think you really do need a presence on Instagram, TikTok, because that's where you're going to get the
you've got to show me more about. You've got to show me more about
We'll have a. I mean, I'm no expert, but I can certainly give you the fundamentals. But yeah, I think definitely look at the surge in popularity your X account's got. Look at the surge in popularity the Facebook's got. So I think if you market yourself properly, And I don't mean as in like a massive team and all that, because you with the stuff that you're doing, you can pretty much do it yourself on your phone.
Yes.
Just once you know where it's at. And because this is kind of, as I hate to say it, but LGBT pride, it's an evergreen subject. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's something that there's always going to be stories. I mean, if we can pull this up, there was Montgomery Toms recently.
Yes,
because
I was so annoyed about this.
Before we got to talk about Montgomery, because this is the thing that again kind of it's getting thrown down our neck. So Montgomery Toms Trans Pride, it'll come up on Google.
That's right.
It had been Pride Month as we're recording this, it's July.
Yes.
And this incident happened in July as well. But Pride Month was in June.
That's right.
But this was a Pride March. So where does this end? My hometown, where I'm from, for those who don't know, St Helens, they've recently had Pride this past weekend. We're now on Monday. And again, that's July. So it seems to be a never-ending, I'm all for... Like I said, I'm all for what Pride initially stood for, but certainly there's got to be a cut-off point, surely. So here we go. So Montgomery Toms, he was the guy who recently, so that third photo down, yeah, that's the one. So he was the guy, he went round to a Pride March in London.
That's right.
And he was wearing a sandwich board that said, the trans flag is a mental, so trans is a mental illness, is pretty much what he was saying.
I agree with him.
And he was
controversial.
He was apprehended by 9 police officers.
And he was held for 10 hours.
Detained for 10 hours.
That's it.
And he wasn't really doing, apart from the sandwich board, he wasn't harassing people or anything of that nature.
No.
And obviously, there's you hear instances. So again, that's our story, quite recent. So where I'm from, there was someone going around with a crossbow, firing at someone who was a suspected. And I don't think there was as many police officers that came for that person than there was Montgomery Toms for simply wearing a sandwich board. So this is where this ties into what you mentioned with the elites, because it's where's your priorities here? Someone's basically promoting free speech, and someone's actually causing harm irrespective of whether that person was a PDF file or not. It's the fact that there was still violence. Yep. So you jumped in and said that you agreed with him. So just tell us a little bit why you agree with that statement.
Well, transsexuality is a mental health disorder. It was a mental health disorder, but I believe it was declassified. I can't remember what year it was, but it was declassified. And this is exactly why we're where we are, because they're just trying to normalize it. And I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to be doing extreme body modifications on themselves, do they? Because let's call it what it is. It's extreme body modification. And I think that in itself it's who wants to be doing that? I mean, like I say, my life isn't aspirational. It's not glamorous. It's not fantastic. It can be expensive. It's not cheap being a woman. What did someone say to me recently? When someone said to me, a woman said I was reducing women to eyelashes, makeup and nails. Well, no, that's not true, because I can tell you right now it helps. Because if I rolled out of bed and just sitting on this chair now, I think you'd have a whole lot more to say if I didn't try. So yeah, it's not all about hair, makeup and lashes, but it does help. And I think I'm going off on a tangent here. Sorry.
No, you're getting to the point.
But but Montgomery Toms, the reason I support him is because he's correct. Mm-hmm. And this is the problem where we are, because nobody wants to admit they've got a mental health disorder, Hodge, because then it wouldn't be so sexy, would it? Because the elites wouldn't want to glamorize psychopathy, would they? Because you can't make money from that, and you can't confuse people with that. So yeah, that's. Yeah.
No, it's interesting hearing it from your perspective there, because as you were talking, I was kind of listing off a load of mental health illnesses now, and I'm someone who's quite open. I suffer with depression, and I don't think we're going to, who knows, because I didn't think we get to this stage, but I don't think you're going to get to a point where depression's glamorized,
Exactly.
Oh,
right.
yeah. add depression to the never-ending LGBT.
That's
finish
it.
on D and
Put a chevron on there for depression.
Yeah. So it is. I'm just sort of trying to paint the picture for the listeners who people, because some people are only familiar with the typical mental health illnesses, so depression, anxiety, obviously the more extreme ones that you've listed there as well, but they may not be familiar that trans used to be a form of mental illness.
That's right.
And again, that's probably because they've been influenced by this ideology that we live in now. So going back on to Montgomery. Well, I want to add another point as well, because you mentioned, you don't wake up in the morning and look glamorous. I think that also applies to biological females as well. Certainly from my experience.
But they're female.
No, exactly. But I think
I have to try harder, Hodge. I have to try harder. You can't expect to be treated a certain way. I mean, even on the way here, I was at Euston Station and I said, what platform do I have to go to Milton Keynes? And the gentleman said, platform 5, my darling.
Okay.
I think he called me madam. They call me madam, actually. Some people might be offended by being called madam, but I'll take it all day long.
Yeah.
Madam.
So that was going to be the next thing, because you are in the camp of common sense, and I've said this to you previously, I will treat everyone the same. I'll always respect someone, providing it's reciprocated. And purely out of respect, I have no issue whatsoever referring to you as a female. But are you offended if someone doesn't refer to you? So I don't mean in a derogatory, malicious way. I mean if it's slip of the tongue, or it's just that doesn't faze you at all.
Doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Okay.
I think I may have touched on this with you. Let's say if I'm out with friends, I will say to my friends, right, if we're going out, or my family, I will say, if anyone says anything, or if anyone drops a comment, don't react, don't retaliate, because I do not want this evening or this day to be about that moment, because this person we're never going to see again. And this is our day, and just let it fly. Well, it ever happens. A bit like hurricanes. Hardly ever happen. But yeah, it's it doesn't affect me, Hodge.
No.
I don't really care.
So you're not obviously going to be one of those,
get it.
like, what's her name? India Willoughby?
India Willoughby, she's my tits,
so
whatever.
Because what
I'm always going for her.
It's a contradiction with India, because she, on some instances, takes the common sense route, but then other instances scream transphobic and you've offended and what have you. But we won't get India.
I think she's a promoter of it. I'm not a promoter of it.
No.
And I think we shouldn't be promoting it.
Well, she's always having a constant back and forth on X, and I'm not on X, but
it never applies to me. Funny that, Hodge, isn't it? She never applies to me ever.
No.
Nope.
Because she's always back and forth with JK Rowling.
Yeah, she is.
Who's very open.
No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned her, because the other day India put a post up saying, why is it 99.9% of TERFs are anonymous? And I replied, I'm not, you bitch.
Yeah, and you've got a reply to that?
None.
So what I will advise is everyone who's, because we mentioned strength in numbers, follow Sam on X, and all the details will be below. Find that tweet, retweet it, and then hopefully you'll get a response if she gets enough notifications.
Yes, I'd like that. I want to have a little bit of a to and fro with her.
So what's your, we referenced there JK Rowling, what's your, because JK is very, again, probably in the same camp as you, but obviously she's not a trans woman.
She's not transphobic, JK Rowling.
So you don't think she's transphobic at all?
I don't think she's at all. No. I think JK Rowling would, I from my understanding, I think JK Rowling would be supportive of someone like me, because I'm not a kink or a perv. I'm not coming to encroach on women's spaces. And it goes back to it again. I respect women. I wouldn't be sitting here wanting to be one. Like I said earlier, I don't want to hurt anybody. So, and I think if you walk through life like that, I think this is why you earn your respect as a transsexual person. You can't demand it. Because you say you respect everybody, but I will respect everybody. If you're pushing an ideology, I've got no respect for you from the get-go. I don't care who you are. So in that regard, I have no respect for you. Everybody else, I can sit down with a drunk, wherever else, I don't care. Anybody else I've got respect for. But if you're pushing this ideology, I've got zero. from the get-go.
What would your response be to, let's say there's some people watching this who kind of make out as though you're offensive with what you're doing to the trans community, who's saying, well, why? I don't think you are, by the way, when I'm asking this. This is kind of hypothetical, where someone would say, well, I don't agree with what Sam's saying because this is, I'm trans and I find that really, really offensive. Not in a India Willoughby sense, but just sort of who've maybe gone through the same issues you've gone through and the kind of list. I'm sort of, because I know you're getting a lot of positives, but just in case there's someone who maybe thinks, I don't know if I agree with that sort of thing, what would your response to them be? And as I say, this is, I don't agree with it in an amicable sense, not the pushing back.
Well, everyone's got feelings, and I can't please everybody, but I'm not here to please everybody. I'm here to please myself, and I'm here to look out for the children. Anybody else gets offended, they can get offended. Kids aren't going to be offended by this. No. It's just the adults in the room, supposed adults in the room, that are going to be offended by it. So take your little hurty feelings, put them aside, because, and first of all, I would like to say, regardless of my delivery, this is all wrapped up in love. Mm-hmm. And I want to put that out there. I do love y'all. I do, honestly. But you've been captured by the ideology. And my heart goes out to you because none of you are trans, really. And gender dysphoria is a thing. And if you don't want to have gender dysphoria and you want to be a girl, well, okay, knock your socks off. Be a she-male. And that's going to offend some people too. Be a ladyboy. That's okay. Don't say you're trans. You're not transsexual. This is why I say I've done the work. I've done the surgery. I've not done all what I've done to get here for a lazy bunch of whoever's just to say there's something that I am. And I don't want to be, it's like the transsexual marker was moved. It was transsexual, then it became transgender. It's problematic, Hodge. And that's, and it makes my brain go off on a tangent. I'm like, oh my God.
No, I can see it's vexing you. Okay, so I'm going to put this to you. So let's say you achieve your mission 5 years from now, hopefully sooner. The trans ideology, the gender ideology is aborted from the curriculum in schools. Kids also have phones, they have social media, they have the internet. Even if the schools go along with this, there's always going to be, for lack of a better phrasing, influencers, people of status online who are also promoting this. Because that will get to the children as well, just as much as the schools, where they're seeing someone who they deem as a hero is, what's the new thing that's coming out? Furries, where people can now pretend that they're cats.
Furries. Yeah. Well, you say that, actually someone told me the other week that there was someone down in the Sussex region where they were identifying as a cat in the classroom and they had a litter box in the classroom. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, any trans child is going to be disrupting that class. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but that's going to be disrupting that class, and that shouldn't be the case. Any child that is identifying, it should be therapy first. I'm a big advocate for therapy and non-affirming therapy at that. All day long, we should be investing in therapists, not surgeons, period. Because otherwise we're going to end up like the US, where all the little girls are cutting the tits off. It's on the rise here. And then you've got to look at why are girls doing that? Because this isn't just about trans women. We're talking about trans men too. So why are they doing that? Are they doing that to avoid the male gaze? Have you got these boys that are looking at porn? And then you can go back to Bonnie Blue. Oh, she's a great, what a role model she is. Come and stretch her out. Yeah. So I can see why little girls might be trying to avoid the male gaze, because I think these boys watching porn on their phones, thinking that someone wants to be pile driven. No, they don't. A woman wants tenderness, romance, all that good stuff. And I think women like Bonnie Blue are very dangerous. And I don't even know why someone like her would be sitting on this morning couch. Why is someone doing that, platforming her?
I think with obviously with people like Bonnie Blue, it's again strength in numbers. people are following her. People are
Well, they're queuing up around the corner, aren't they?
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Literally.
In her case, yeah, literally, people are following her. But yeah, so obviously, your big media companies, your podcasts, will give her a platform. I mean, I'll go on record to say, because I know we were speaking to her team
Right.
about potentially getting her on, but it wasn't a case of getting her on for clout or anything like that. I've genuinely, in the same way I've got you on, I'm intrigued to know what's the psyche, what's the thought process. Were you doing this? Because she actually, I don't know if you've listened to many interviews she's done. She articulates very well. She comes across well educated.
She seems very, very happy.
And very content with what she's doing. And she'd probably argue that she feels as though it's empowering towards women. But
until she's not empowered, or the men don't want to date her.
Which I think's inevitably going to happen further down the line.
Of course it is.
Going back on, because obviously we referenced the furries, which to my understanding stemmed from TikTok videos and then it got a case of, again, the masses start doing it, so it becomes allowed, or we don't want to offend people who identify as cats now. So yeah, kind of going back onto the question, in a parallel universe where this is no longer a propaganda in schools, but you've still got the issues of people on social media. Now, I know you could argue you've got issues with the internet full stop, irrespective of gender ideology. But
ban them.
So you think parents should take a stance?
Strike them.
I always, because again, like I said, I said earlier, it's a cop-out for me to say this because I don't have kids, but I wouldn't be allowing my kid, because I know how many weirdos there are on the internet, and I mean that in the literal sense.
Yep.
I wouldn't be wanting my kids to have a phone or a cell phone or an iPad or anything that has access to the internet. I'm all for games
basic Nokia.
I'm all happy for them to play games and what have you. And I know it can shut a kid up if they're going out for food and what have you. And they play, because they've got that dopamine hit right in front of them. But I don't think they should have. I certainly don't think they should have social media accounts, and I certainly don't think they should be in WhatsApp groups, because there's a lot of. I mean, WhatsApp's probably the most cutthroat out of the lot, especially with
a lot of bullying for kids on WhatsApp groups,
and especially when it comes to because it ties into the whole school ground mentality on a phone. Where, where the cool kids, we're not adding you to this group, and then they get added to the group, and then there's bullying and victimization involved. So I think we're on the same camp with the whole. Parents need to speak out about it, and also they need to ban phones, because that's the only way.
Parents need to parent. Okay. Lock your kids, lock their devices down.
And one of the more powerful things, what we've not touched on, but I know we have off camera, is a lot more D-trans are coming to the forefront now.
Yes.
So D-trans, in layman's terms, are people who have transitioned, so male to female, female to male.
That's right.
And then essentially have regretted that decision. And want to transition back, which is obviously, if you've had the full surgery, it's a lot easier said than done.
Well, you can't.
Yeah, or you can't.
Well, especially for men, if you're a transsexual woman, and you have the op, it's irreversible. You're done. You've got a foo for life. That's it. It's gone.
Yeah, it's
in the trash. Well, parts of it are.
yeah.
Well,
but I mean, it's no, you're quite right. And again, though, I think this boils down to children.
Of course.
Have had this ideology put on them.
Yep.
They've made a decision. It's been greenlit for whatever reason. And I know this is predominantly America, but like you pointed out, it is coming over here at a rapid pace.
Well, actually saying that, I mean, one of the first things Donald Trump done, I mean, I don't care what you say about Donald Trump, whether you're MAGA or not. I mean, but one of the first things he done when he got into office was he took away child affirming care, which to me was, I was jumping around my front room, like clapping and jumping for joy. I was like, he just saved some kids' lives here. They just dodged some bullets.
Exactly.
Because they were all messing about online with testosterone and getting a big pair of hairy boobs and whatever else, which I mentioned before. So yeah, it's
No, quite right. And I think, again, it's like you've touched on, people will make these decisions, go all in with the surgery, and then when they probably have realised, I'm going to use it's just a phase scenario, and it's only become a phase because it's been put into their heads through the curriculum. They now regret that. And I actually think that these surgeons and these doctors who've greenlit that, they're just as bad. There needs to be some repercussions for them as well, because essentially it's
prison time.
Abuse. Exactly.
There needs to be prison time, especially when you when you go stateside and you look at some of the other surgeries that have been performed on some of these girls. Some scars. I mean, and they're also proud of it. Doing pictures online, like showing off their scars. This isn't something you should be proud of. This is like, you want those scars to go as soon as possible. You're not sitting online flexing, showing your scars. What? I belong to this club. If you're truly gender dysphoric, you would not be showing those scars off. I mean, Buck Angel will tell you.
No, and again, that's in because there's a lot of people who have had to have females who've had cancer, who've had to have the breast removed.
Mastectomies, double mastectomies.
How insulting is
Totally.
that you're showcasing this because you've chose to do that,
right?
When these people they didn't get a choice in that matter.
Exactly.
And everything boils down to double standards. You find with this ideology and that dogmatic approach that we touched on at the start. I kind of want to. What do you want to get out of your, obviously with the children, but what do you want to get out of Samantha Plested as a whole, as a person? Now you've kind of come full circle in your journey of life.
Well, I'm one of the lucky ones, Hodge, because I'm happiest I've ever been on many levels. There's a few little things in my life I'm not happy about, but I would at some point like to start. My end goal is to set up a non-profit for those detransitioners that are coming. They've already started. And back to your question, the detransitioners, once they decide to detransition, they're kicked to the curb by the community because they're surplus to requirements. Because they're no longer now furthering the cause. So they're just kicked out, left on their own, floating about. And I think this is probably why there's quite a lot of detransitions out there that are frightened to detransition. But let me just tell you this. You're as equally as brave to detransition as you are to transition. Let that be known. And you are loved, you're respected, and you're cared for. And I think, because they say, you know, the ones that don't, or the nasty trans people say, well, you made a mistake, we didn't. Well, okay, you didn't, but at least show that person for some love for making the mistake. Okay? Don't kick them to the curb. What sort of person are you? So that's my end goal. And then once that's done, I can go away, hopefully, and live a quiet life. And just, that's it.
There was a documentary on YouTube, you've probably seen it, about D-Trans, where they had two people who'd gone through the transition and now wanted to revert back, or were in the process of doing. And normally I avoid the comment section, but curiosity, peaked at that point. I want to see what's been the feedback of this, and for the most part, it was quite positive. But then there was just a plethora of comments calling these people transphobic. Again, I know it's a taboo phrase, because they wanted to they realised they made a mistake. So it's like, hang on, how can that possibly be?
Oh, I've never heard them called transphobic. That's a new one.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send you this documentary.
Okay.
It's rife in the comment
what stuff
section.
and nonsense? Stuff and nonsense. And what's he got to do with them? It's got nothing to do with them. If I heard someone was detransitioning, I'd go, oh, that's my reaction, because that's the decent thing to do. Not go fuck off, sling your we're not interested anymore. So yeah, I just think there needs to be equal love on both sides. And yeah, my heart goes out to all those detransitioners that got sucked into the ideology.
But when you touched on that, someone had said that they kick them to the curb, and it's they become, what is it?
Surplus to requirements.
Yeah, that's the one. And they don't bother with them anymore. But then it's like, but you influence, not you individually, but your
as a collective
propaganda, your
you
collective.
Influence that person.
You influence that person. Right? So
what about sorry?
Exactly.
What about sorry? Yeah. It's the hardest word to say, isn't it? Apparently.
And again, it ties into that double standard, dogmatic approach, which we're seeing trends here, which we also, as well as see that in the gender ideology, we also see it in, religious ideology, within the media ideology. It's everywhere. And once you kind of, people will say, oh, Hodge is a conspiracy theorist. No, Hodge is just looking at what's black and what's white, fundamentally.
Some things are black and white, Hodge.
Exactly. And I think these principles definitely are. I kind of want to just get you a few takes on obviously we referenced Caitlyn there, who I think arguably is probably the most well known, obviously with being a celebrity.
Yeah.
Who
especially of recent times. Of recent times especially, yeah.
So what's your take on... Caitlyn has a lot of similar political stances as yourself. Not entirely, but what's your take on someone like Caitlyn Jenner being a kind of advocate for trans?
Well, I'd be a gun-toting Republican, for sure. Caitlyn, I have a lot of respect for her, especially after I watched Untold, which we both watched on Netflix. Little nod there. Go and watch that on Caitlyn Jenner Untold on Netflix. Made me cry.
Really?
Yeah, I found a lot of. Well,
obviously you can resonate.
Well,
can't you, a lot?
I mean, it was the dedication and the turmoil, like picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, all those years, and I really felt for her, and I found a new level of respect because when I watched I Am Kate, I respect Caitlyn. Especially doing something like that on a global stage. I couldn't imagine doing that because it's hard enough stepping foot outside your door in a court-heeled shoe on your own without, living on a council estate, without, with all cameras, 1,000 cameras in front of you. I mean, that must be so daunting. I mean, what was those awards? Was it the Etsy Award? Is it not Etsy? ESPN Awards.
Oh yeah.
When she came up on that stage in that beautiful white column dress, looking her most beautiful self, and I just thought, wow. I mean, she must have been like a swan inside, like with the little legs going under. I can imagine. But then again, saying that, she's quite powerful and she's a public speaker anyway, so she's already got that in her arsenal. So I suppose she would be a lot more equipped to deal with it. But I have a lot of respect for her.
One of the most, obviously, when we was touching about gender
dysphoria.
Just catching you out that time. No, what really sort of, it didn't resonate with me, but certainly something that I picked up on was incredibly it kind of become that light bulb moment of, oh, this is probably it. Obviously, I'm someone who does quite a lot of fitness endeavours, marathons, etc. So maybe that's why the relatability was there from the fitness aspect. Obviously, Caitlyn, when she was Bruce, won a gold medal in decathlon and was like world record holder for years after. I may still be. I don't know. That'll have to get fact checked. But Bruce basically said that because he didn't feel he was the person he was, wasn't Caitlyn at this stage, although he knew deep down he was, he decided to create a smokescreen and become the best at something, and it was that fueled him to reach the gold medal. And that was powerful for me because it was kind of like, that just goes to show what goes on through people's minds when they do suffer with this, that they can channel that much energy. Because, let's address the elephant in the room. He was an Olympic gold medalist. That means he was the best in the world at that particular sport. And it, it really radiates, it really showcases what his capabilities were.
Yeah. Incredible journey,
channeled.
Incredible journey.
So that was obviously, I've got on a bit of a tangent there, but that's obviously just something that when I was watching it, it was kind of like, oh, wow. I didn't the power that holds, it's incredible.
It was emotional, but I'd say anybody, please go and watch that episode on Caitlyn Jenner. It's very interesting, very powerful.
Do you think there is, obviously I know you touched on that time on the was it train or the bus, forgive me, with the guys trying to intimidate you?
Yes.
Does that still, I know obviously we've got a lot of, pardon my French, but dickheads in society. I feel as though it's so, for instance, like it's used like kind of like racism. It was rife amongst the country.
Yes.
Back in the 80s and what have you. Now it's not so much, you're only having it in a small, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, so don't come at me at the comments, Paul. I'm basically just alluding to the fact that it's sort of mellowed out a little bit now. How do you feel on sort of actual transphobic people? Do you feel as that it's still? I mean, how was your journey up here today? I know obviously you took the Valiums, perfectly fine.
I had no problems at all.
No problems.
But I did have one, actually saying that I'm going to digress slightly, but there was one point on the train, and it's important that I say this actually, because it kind of reverts to women's sports. I got on the train, I put a post up on my ex account about this earlier. Got on the train was packed. Anxiety was quite high at this point. And I just bent down and I scarfed up my suitcase and I just like it was light as a feather. And I put it on the overhead thing and it got a few little glances. And I thought to myself, well, this is why I don't compete in women's sports. So they do as an upper hand for, and it goes back to recently. My next door neighbour asked me to move a plant pot, and I moved that plant pot, Hodge. Nowhere near as easily as she could have done. That's because I was previously a man. Well, I am a man. Yeah. So muscle has memory. So men, get yourselves out of women's sport ASAP. Yeah. It's going to happen anyway, whether you like it or not.
Well, I mean,
it's coming.
That's definitely, I think with
whether you throw a dart or you're holding a pool cue, I don't give a shit.
I mean, I think,
Get out.
I think the because obviously Caitlyn, give her a nod again, she's very vocal on that, obviously being someone whose sport was a huge part of her life. But I think when you mentioned there that's going to become more, that seems to be heading in the right direction. Take Emaine Khalif, who was the Algerian boxer.
Yes.
Now, Emaine was a confusing one because she was intersex, so it was to do with the chromosomes. I think it's called
DSD now, differential sex development.
Okay.
I think they've renamed it now, intersex to DSD.
But she still had male chromosomes, and the Olympic Commission, I think she'd actually been banned from previous competitions, but the Olympics greenlit it.
The Boxing Federation, they greenlit it. Do you know something? Even now, I'm looking back at that now, and I can see in slow motion the replay. And when you look at the reach, am I going to be a bitch here? No, I won't be. When you look at her reach, we'll say her for now, right? Even though I really want to say him. No, fuck it. When you look at his reach, right? Fuck it. When you look at his reach and you see her in that ring, that little woman, his reach was a third longer than hers. Come on. Cut me a break.
And obviously...
And she shit herself after the first one or two punches. Yeah. I couldn't take any more. She could have taken 20 licks from another woman, but not from a fella. So I'm sorry, I'm being a bitch.
I completely agree with the sport elements because it's, particularly when it gets introduced to things like the Olympics, these poor girls have trained and dedicated so many hours of their life.
This is what I'm saying.
To become the best in their field, or at least have an opportunity to become the best, because obviously you can only get one gold medal.
On a level playing field.
On a level playing field. Someone comes along with some blatant biological advantages and just basically, I mean, I didn't watch the Olympics in Paris, admittedly, but obviously I've seen highlights. Yeah, there was. I tried to watch the opening ceremony.
It was dark, the opening ceremony.
I mean, I wasn't particularly offended by it. I just thought it was a load of nonsense. I just thought, what am I watching it? And I just couldn't. I thought, do you know what? I'm not making the effort to give them the time for it. But yeah, obviously the clips I've seen with Emaine Khalif was brutal, and in boxing in particular, which is a combat sport, it's violent. The pro men boxers have weight divisions for that reason, for health and safety. You won't have a heavyweight in there with a featherweight because, yes, the featherweight's probably going to be fitter and dance around them. That heavyweight lands one punch, it's game over.
Clearly that was a mismatch from the get-go. I mean, how it was even allowed to happen is beyond me. But that's where we are.
Yeah. But in the right direction, she has had to have her gold medal revoked.
They all should. Every single... And I say this, as a transsexual woman, if I had a child that had trained all her life... So what is going on here doesn't just affect the entrants or the participants. It affects their families because it has a wider reach. Because that mother and father are going to be so gutted that person... I'm going to say all the time that you're in women's sports, I'm going to call you men. The minute you get out, I'll give you respect.
There's the respect element.
So you fellas need to get your asses out. And I think it's happened in America. I think, hasn't the Trump administration wiped all the medals and then given them to the women that came second, third and fourth? That's what should happen. Yeah, if it hasn't happened,
I'm pretty certain Trump
happen.
would do that.
Yes.
if it's, or he's trying to push for it.
Yeah. Or everybody around the world should be doing that. Any man, as I said, if you're throwing a dart or you're holding a pool cue, get out of women's sport. Period. It's that simple for me. Cut and dried. And I stand with Sharon Davies, the swimmer. Sharon hit me up. You never respond to my when include you in my tweets. Because I do support you, Sharon, and what you're doing.
And hopefully as well, as your brand grows with this message, which I think it inevitably will do, you'll start networking and be able to link in with these people a lot quicker. I suspect someone like Sharon probably has someone managing her socials, no doubt.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. India will. I don't know if India would.
And also, if she's not reaching out for a certain reason, I get it, and I understand it. Some women, they just don't, because they've been so hurt by what's happening. Because obviously she's an Olympic swimmer, right? So you've got, and I can understand why she's hurt and why she wouldn't want to interact with me, and certain other people like Parker Posey. Keely Jane Keane. She doesn't want to interact with me. And I get it, because she's like, they're staunch. But hey, I'm not here to cause you any offense. I stand with you. We're speaking the same truths. I'm not your enemy. I'm your ally. And I'm not here to be liked, Hodge, or make friends. But if I'm here to do a job, and this job might take up the rest of my life. Because I don't think, and I said earlier, I'm thinking about what I said earlier, and then I can go on and have a quiet life. I don't think it's never going to happen. This is my calling now. This is when my life's going to be, and it'll probably be this way to my dying breath. But
you found your purpose.
I have.
You found your identity.
I have.
And then you've obviously gone on to find your purpose afterwards. And all right, it might have come to you a little bit later on in life.
Yeah.
But in fact, there's no cut-off point. You can find your calling in life
of
from,
course.
being a little
Never
kid.
Too late.
Being a little kid and having big dreams of aspirations.
Yep.
I'm sure Neil Armstrong envisioned the day he'd become an astronaut and walk on the moon. Right. Whether you believe that happened or not, relevant. But it's, the point I'm getting to. Or it can be a case of you find your purpose. I genuinely believe one of my purposes, when I stumbled across podcasting, I stumbled across it quite later on in life as a little bit of a hobby, and I absolutely love it. I don't see me doing anything different now in life. Obviously, I'll do other stuff alongside it, but yeah. Anyway, digress a little bit there. So I kind of want you. So that we're going to sort of wrap up a little bit here, Sam. But I generally ask all our guests this question. In fact, I'll ask you this first, and I'll ask the second question. So, what are you now grateful for in life?
I'm grateful for my friends, my family, and the love that has come from that. Because I'm not going to lie, that was difficult, because I don't speak a lot about this, but I didn't speak to my dad for 2.5 years. Just prior to my surgery, my father and I had a falling out, and that was difficult. So having my father back in my life now, and it's incredible to me to have my father back, and it's the beauty in that. It's never lost on me. So I cherish all my friendships, because they're really important to me, because they don't judge me. They accept me for who I am. They know my gender, but they respect and honour me. I mean, there's nothing greater for me when I get a card from my father saying to my daughter on her birthday, saying how proud he is of me. Because again, the respect is earned, it's not a given. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for anybody platforming me, because that means they're on board with what I'm doing. And as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. So I'm grateful in spades for many, many things. But yeah, I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
And if there's a message, so I kind of want you to give two messages here. So the first one's going to be with regards to someone who maybe suffers with gender dysphoria. Someone who's, because I always say lived experience has power. So what would you say to someone who believes they may be suffering with that, looking at options to transition, and I don't just mean, this could be any walk of life. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the children, because that's going to be my next question.
Well, yeah. I would always say, don't listen to every Tom, Dick and Harry affirming you, because self-love comes from within. You don't need to keep seeking validation. And I've learnt this along my journey. Stop seeking validation elsewhere. Validation comes from within. You don't need every Tom, Dick and Harry validating you, and also strangers validating you. Because how do you know what that stranger's gender is? Oh, you look pretty in that dress, and your 6 o'clock shadow, and your red lipstick and blue eyeshadow, and your fishnet tights, and your little leather mini skirt. Everyone affirming you. I'm just being a bit silly here, Hodge. But I mean, if anyone who is going to think about transitioning, first of all, go and have therapy. And don't go to an affirming therapist. That's your worst enemy right there. And speak about it. Speak to your loved ones about it. And what was the second question?
So I've not asked it yet.
Okay.
So the second question was going to be, obviously, your message is to abort all this from the children. Stop brainwashing the
take it
children.
out of primary schools. Let's just take as a baseline. Take that out of primary schools. They don't need to hear it. And again, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to Drag Race for a second because I used to love Drag Race. Then it went all crazy, and they're doing certain things on the catwalk. I mean, I saw one where there was one walking down the catwalk with like arms on the back attached in like rubber with like scalpels attached, and he was walking down the catwalk with a pair of breasts in a carrier bag covered in blood. I mean, that is promotion to kids. I have a problem with that. And at Drag Race and drag stars going to read kids' stories in libraries and shit like that. I've lost myself. What was the...
So I never got to ask it. I kind of alluded to it. So it would be, I mean, I anticipate children won't be watching this, but if they are, but predominantly the parents, what was the camera one there, let's say, you looking straight in there, what would be your message to the parents from what you stand for and what we spoke about this entire interview?
Parent your children. Because if you profess to love your children so much, affirming them isn't love. Parent first and foremost. That's love. Don't believe the ideology. Don't get swept up in it. It's not right. It's not correct. It's not real. That's it.
No, powerful. And like I've said numerous times, both on and off camera, lived experience has power.
Thank you.
You epitomise that with this message. And what I've really loved about it as well, as much as, you know, you're great company, it's, as I said at the start, it's great to be able to have an amicable conversation and someone not get offended. Yeah. You know, and that unfortunately we seem to be losing that now, where people, and I don't just mean with trans, I mean just society as a whole now. Yeah. People are treading on eggshells with what they can say and how they can address certain people, and that shouldn't be the case. I mean, you know, live and let live. If you're going out your way with intent to upset, maim, offend with malicious intentions, then yeah, we've got a problem with that. Yeah. But if someone's just having a general conversation and they maybe say a word that they're not familiar with, or they don't address someone as the correct gender they've woke up to be assigned to today, that shouldn't really be deemed offensive.
Well, like Lily Tino.
Exactly, yeah.
I think he's off isn't he off the web now? He's gone. I think he's gone.
I'm not following his career,
yeah,
so
yeah, no,
I do apologise.
No, but I think he's gone. He was a bit of a creep. Everyone was misgendering him. He'd go out for dinner. He'd be recorded being misgendered, and he'd go, "That's not sir. It's madam."
I think anyone who's going out with the intention of being recorded is clearly just doing it for attention.
Attention seeking.
Where can people get hold of you? Obviously, it's going to be in the description, but you can kind of showcase where it is you're from.
I am across socials. I'm on socials. I'm on YouTube, X. X is my main account. It's Change SGC Plested, Plested. That's it. Mm-hmm. Same hook across all my socials.
And you're the same hooks, and you're on Instagram,
YouTube, X. I think that's it, and Facebook.
On Facebook,
yes.
Okay. And we're going to have a little chat off camera with improvements for Instagram. Sam, it's been lovely chatting to you. I think what you stand for, you're brave in a sense, not just travelling up here, because obviously you've touched on the issues you've had with public transport, but just being able to be a voice for the voiceless and being someone who is transsexual, trans woman, whatever the terminology is. And not being afraid to kind of just say it as it is. And you're doing it in a very diplomatic way, I feel. You're doing it from a place, like you've touched on, from the heart, from love. And that's why I wanted to platform you, because I just felt as though this message needs to get out there. And anyone who's willing to put their neck on the line in support of children gets my respects wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
And I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. Sam, it's been a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you.
Have you enjoyed your time?
I have. Thank you so much, Hodge.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, darling.
I've been Daniel Hodges. This has been Samantha Plested, and you've been listening to the Hodge-Cast. Take it easy. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we believe you can definitely take something away from today's guest. We couldn't attract guests such as this without a solid fan base. The best way we can grow this is through subscriptions. So, if you haven't already done so, can I please ask you hit that subscribe button and help us continue to put out content for you all to enjoy. Until next time.